This is Robert Clotworthy, the narrator of The Curse of Oak Island, and I have a question for you. Could it be that you are listening to The Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream?
This is a top pocket find, mate, for sure.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond live stream. And yes, this is a top pocket find for sure, mate. Hey, welcome for coming in, or thanks for coming, everybody. And I tell you what, we got returning to the show tonight as co-hosts. We got John Edwards and Dale Kearney, and the new kid on the block, Jeff Babineau from Anchor Tours. Welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. And that's really cool because, we got talking with Jeff a little bit. He's been coming by and talking in the chat and stuff. And we kind of coerced him into coming on the show and giving us some of his local perspective. So we really do appreciate it. Again, thanks for coming. And of course, we got Dale up there in the Halifax area. Dale, how are you coming with your move? Are you still in the middle of all that?
We move in 8 days.
8 days.
8 days.
That's why the table is piled up in the back there. I see,
yeah, right? Yeah. This room's a complete disaster.
Well, yeah, I would come and help. I really would, but
it's
just so far to drive. I mean,
we got 4 guys moving us. They start at 8:00 in the morning. We'll be in our new house by 6 p.m.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Jeff, so you are, I guess, the owner of Anchor Tours. Tell us a little bit about Anchor Tours and what do you guys do up there? I mean, obviously you take people on tours, but tell us a little bit about Anchor Tours.
Sure. Well, I started back in the business in 2018. Previous to that, I had a career in sales for probably 30 years. And I was always interested in tourism and history and local culture and things like that. So it was an easy transition for me to get involved with. It was a lot of hard work, but I tell you, it's really great. Things like the South Shore of Nova Scotia, where you see Oak Island and Lunenburg and Mahone Bay and those areas. They're absolutely beautiful parts of the province. And I go there probably on average of 5 times a week. Wow. And it's an absolutely phenomenal place. And I never, ever get bored of it. So it's fantastic. And one of the great parts of what I do is get to meet people just like you folks from all over the world that are coming to my home province for the first time. And it's an absolutely major kick for me to show them around and to get to know them a little bit. And maybe they found out that they got a new friend in a new part of the world. So it's a lot of fun for me personally.
Wow. Nova Scotia is an awesome province.
Yeah. So is this like a boat tours or is it in a bus or what is it? How's it done?
It's a guided tour. We're located out of Halifax is mainly where we do our tours, but it's by vehicle. And occasionally we do boat tours as well. Like we have recently partnered up with Tony Sampson to start our own Oak Island theme tour. And so we'll be taking it, but primarily we do guided tours by vehicle throughout the province.
Nice. Yeah, we heard about the partnering up with Tony Sampson. That's really awesome. Salty Dog Boat Tours. Oh,
yeah, I'm really looking forward to that.
Got to get my hat out real quick. He's going to be on the show tonight, so or on the Oak Island show. He's not. Well, he pops into the chat quite a bit. I haven't seen him pop in yet, but that's really cool. So now, you mentioned the fact that you get to meet such great people. And that has, and I've mentioned this before, and the people that have been into every one of these shows have probably getting tired of hearing me say this, but that's been the blessing of this show. John and I and Dale and everybody that's been on the show, we get to meet such wonderful people. Not only some of the cast of Oak Island have been on with us, but also researchers and all of our co-hosts and the people from beyond Oak Island. And it's been an awesome experience. It really has. And I now I have someone else that I'm going to meet when I come up there this summer, right? So
you certainly are.
All right. That's awesome. Well, I tell you, we're going to jump in with Dale here in just a second because he's got some information that's really cool to share with us. But I wanted to give a shout out to some of the folks that are logging in here tonight and popping in with us. We got Dave Petrella. Hi, Dave. Gail's here with us. Sharon's here. Anne Marie, all the way from Germany, is here with us. Catherine, let's see. Karen. Oh, my gosh. Kat Fulton. Hey, look, there's Jeff Freeman out there. Oh, that was me saying hello. Deborah, Jeff was saying hi, but when I first fired up the StreamYard, and I wasn't even live like an hour to go, and he's popped in. Jeff's an early bird, so yeah, he gets the star for that tonight. for sure. Let's see, Sharon, Deidre is out there. Deidre, and they had their great show. They had a pregame last night with. If you haven't seen that, that is out at the Could It Be Oak Island podcast. It's on YouTube and Facebook. So check them guys out. If you haven't already, make sure you check them out. That's really a cool show, and they have a lot of fun out there talking about everything Oak Island as well. And the mugs and stuff that she's got going on, the guptal stuff. I'll let her talk about all of that. Let's see. And of course, we got Linda and Jan and Tom Burns working hard out there, making everything happen for the show. And we really appreciate their hard work so very, very much. Thank you, guys. Let's see. Who else we got here? Let's see. Oh, my goodness. So the YouTube side. Paula Mason's here. Hi, Paula. Mary's here. Pat's here from Mississippi. Oh, my goodness. Richard.
It's going to be a nutty summer here.
It's what?
It's going to be a crazy summer in Nova Scotia,
especially if John and I come up there.
Yeah, that too. But it's going to be. I think it's going to be a crazy busy tourism summer this year. From what we're seeing and hearing, it's going to be absolutely crazy.
Yep, I hope so. I think well,
so.
People are itching to get out. I mean, we've had the restrictions for coming over the border.
I can give you an example, Jeff. We're opening a store on May 2nd in Amherst, and we posted that we're opening a store. I think in the first 4 days, we had 27,000 views on that post.
Good grief.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's just selling tartan products, but it's just the response was just incredible.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I think it's going to be a very busy summer in Nova Scotia. I mean, why not? It's a beautiful province.
Yeah, I think it's going to be overwhelming. It really, and because like I said, people are itching to get out. I've been wanting to get up there for 2 years. Now 3 going on this summer, and I haven't been able to until now. So
one of the local places here in Halifax, Murphy's, is they've got a humongous increase in bookings right now. I was talking to the owner, and he said his bookings are up significantly from 2 years ago. Even before pre-COVID, they're up even more now.
Wow.
So I think tours and stuff like that is just going to meet nuts.
Get ready, Jeff. It's going to be a busy one.
Jeff's going to be slammed. You're in Halifax, are you, Jeff?
I live in a place called Truro, which is about 100 kilometers outside.
You're an hour from me.
What's that?
You're an hour from me.
Yeah. So that's where most of my business is done in Halifax for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be a busy year.
Yep.
So anybody wants to get a tour booked now?
Yes, book it now. And so we'll have to link your website also.
Awesome.
We'll get that put in there. We'll put it in the description of the show. As well as put it in the chat if Jan or somebody would be so kind as to throw that in there. I'd appreciate it. So we can get a shout out for Anchor Tours on there. So who else we got? Richard Snader. Hey, welcome, Richard. I think that's like the first time I've seen you here. Well, welcome. Thanks for coming. Amy's here. Hi, Amy. Oh my goodness. Got a lot of people showing up. This is great.
Wow.
Really appreciate everybody coming by tonight. Like I said, special occasion. We got Jeff here from Anchor Tours and Dale coming back, and John hasn't been here for a couple of weeks, so he's on with us.
It's all because John's here.
Yeah. While we're gonna kind of digging into this a little bit, Dale, you've got some exciting things. I know you've shown on the Facebook group page. Tell us a little bit about what you have going on.
Well, last year we did the fundraiser with the hat for Christmas Daddies. We had it signed by the cast, and we did that for about 2 months, which we normally run our fundraisers for. We raised $24,000 last year. So I reached out to Vanessa from Rock and asked her, hey, do you have anything really cool I could do for a fundraiser for Christmas Daddies again? Because I want to start it early. So she said, sure. So they sent me some stuff. So we're doing it again. It's on your Facebook page, the link for it. Same as last year, $5 a chance. The more you donate, the more chances you get. But the prizes this year are really neat. So the first one we got some stickers. Get the Rock stickers, which are really cool. And then she sent me some T-shirts. These are small though, but I don't know if you can see them.
Nice. Slamming cans.
Yeah.
What is that? What does it say underneath that?
Slamming cans and sinking shafts.
Sinking shafts. All right.
So she sent me some of them. And then I got a little shocked because she sent me this really nice picture that we're going to do.
Yeah, I got a shot of it here too. Let me bring it up.
Yeah.
Boom, right there.
Yeah, it's signed by Vanessa, but it's from when they put in the C1.
So that was C1, and yeah, there's Dave getting firing up the oscillator.
Yep. Dan Henske's in there, and so it's a really nice picture. And I thought, wow, I couldn't believe it. I was wanting to keep it myself, but I thought, no, we'll put that up as a prize.
That's cool.
Awesome.
And then the main prize they sent me
Here, I'll bring that up too.
I knew it was coming, so she sent me the hat.
Oh wow!
And the hard hat, which was it was worn on the show, but they didn't tell me by who. But it was signed by everybody, and I was like, okay, great. Dave Blankenship signed it, and I was like, oh, that's neat. I noticed Dan Blankenship had signed it.
Yeah, right there.
So,
right there.
That's like incredible. If you're a fan of the show, I mean, that's just
huge.
That's a big thing to have a hat signed by him, and it's signed by most. Like Rick Marty signed it, Jack Bagley. I think Charles signed it. There's a few other ones on here too. Gary Drayton signed it. So, I mean, that hat's worth a fortune, in my opinion. If you're a collector, yeah. And Vanessa signed it, and
that is really, really cool.
But yeah, to have Dan's signature on a show worn hard hat from when they're doing the cans is incredible.
Yep,
so we got him on there. We're going to do it for 2 months again. So we're going to draw on June 1st. And we're going to do the same thing. Every chance is $5, and it's all being donated again to Christmas Daddies in December. The reason we're doing it early is because we're opening a store, and it's going to be insanely busy for me to get to this fundraiser. So we're going to do it for 2 months now. And I think I have some more stuff coming in.
Cool. All right.
But if you want to make a bit, if you want to get some chances on it, just go to the Curse of Oak Island and Beyond Facebook page, and the link is on there.
Cool. All right, Linda did put up the link for Anchor Tour, so it's on the Facebook side. So thank you for doing that, Linda. Appreciate it very much. And yeah, I tell you, the fundraiser that you guys did for last year for the Christmas Daddy, that was phenomenal. And those hats were so cool, and all the other stuff that you had. I mean, it really was really cool.
Yeah.
And then for you to come on and do the giveaways and pull the names and all that right here on the show was so cool.
Yeah, we'll do it the same way. We only have the one hat too, by the way. It's just one hat.
Yep.
I should mention that, but it's just one hat.
Yeah, it looked like 4, but yeah, it's just one. You turned it around to show all the different signatures.
Wow.
Yeah, and it's dirty. It's got scuffs on it, so it was show worn.
That's awesome, and that makes it worth more, I think, in my opinion, anyway.
I think so too. I mean, it was worn on the show. Yeah, it's something to have.
Yep. Yeah, it is. It truly is. So that was so cool of Vanessa. And Rock Equipment Company for, that she's into fundraisers. She has her show that we showed one of the stickers you've got there. You got one of them that is about the that one right there. So Rescue Ranch, that's one that Vanessa is near and dear to her heart. So that is a really cool charity that she does. All about the horses and stuff. But check that out if you guys get a chance. But she is so into that, and such a wonderful person Vanessa is, and being able to donate those things for you to do to raise money.
And again, it's the same as last year. We do not keep a cent from this. We pay for shipping to whoever wins it, so there's no cost of shipping. But we will donate every single penny of it to Christmas Daddies in December.
Wow. Yep. They don't keep a dime of it, so. So really looking forward to that. So thanks so much again to Vanessa and for you. You came up with a great idea. You reached out to Vanessa, and she was more than happy to jump in and be part of it. So that's really, really, really cool. So
it's like 5 separate draws, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, but 5 separate draws we're going to do.
Yeah. Well, we know that later in the season you'll be doing some other stuff as well. So
probably.
Yeah. So we'll be looking forward to that. So that's great. Good stuff. Let's see. All right, just Alessandra's here. Hi, Alessandra. I saw Jake Roberts pop by. Yeah. Jake's out there too. Hey, welcome, Jake. Thanks for coming by. And also Jack Campbell's out there. I saw him out there. He's hanging around and stuff. He'll be back on the show. We're rotating people in and out. Let's see. Tara's here. I had tour tickets in 2020. Okay.
Uh-oh.
Got quiet.
I think we lost Jeff.
No, I'm here.
No, Jeff Freeman.
Oh, sorry.
He's frozen.
He's frozen. Wonder if he knows.
Battery doesn't blink very often.
My God, this means we're going to have to get John singing.
You don't want to hear that.
So back and talk about Nova Scotia. Like I said, it's for tourism. It's going to be extremely busy. And my suggestion is if you want to book a tour with any of the tour companies, book it early. It's going to be slammed this summer.
Yeah, especially if you're coming in on a cruise ship. It's most of the people that come in on cruises they haven't got any time to waste when they get here.
Yep.
So generally speaking, they book very early, and was contacted by a customer 2 days ago that's booking for October of 2023 at this point.
Wow.
So
I think they said
it's
there's
not
100
unusual for them to.
I think they said 154 cruise ships this summer.
Good grief.
Yeah, and that's not even a top. In 2019, they had 192, if I recall correctly.
5 in one, no, 6 in one day. 6 of them were docked in one day.
Yeah, the highest amount generally that they do per day in Halifax is about 12,500.
Wow.
That's a lot, but that's late in the season too, typically in October. But some very interesting vessels are coming in this year. The Queen Mary 2 is making an appearance, which is always a welcome sight. That's a beautiful ship.
Mm-hmm.
And the Disney Magic is showing up here, which is which is a big event. It's another big vessel, but lots of massive vessels. People don't get an idea how big Halifax Harbor actually is. For container ships and the sea traffic that come in, it's a major seaport, and it's very big. But it's not these big. You would think with the pandemic that cruise ships would be starting to be built smaller, but they're not. They're getting bigger. And the cruise ships that are now starting to come out are a whopping 1/4 mile long. Some of them are almost 1,300 feet long. So that's a big, big ship.
Now, Jeff, they had talked about having tours maybe by one of the companies this coming summer. Do you know if they're going to have tours on Oak Island? I know Friends of Oak Island is not doing it.
Well, there's 2 different entities.
Okay.
And I think it's been my understanding that Oak Island Tours Incorporated more or less runs them both. The Friends of Oak Island run the Interpretive Center, and they do their own gig on the weekends, but they do more of a group-based tour.
Mm-hmm.
The actual one that's done by Oak Island Tours Incorporated, that's the Laginas.
Yes.
They do more semi-private tours that are around 50 in size. For anybody that's been on one, then definitely it's a much smaller group. Mm-hmm. It's hard to say if they're gonna do that this year or not. Any of the people that I've talked to that are quote unquote in the know, it's still up in the air. They're not 100% sure, but it just all depends on what their feeling is going forward. I don't know what the COVID restrictions are going to do with regards to the film industry. Maybe they feel they don't want to take a chance that it gets spread into their tightly knit community there.
Sure. Now, when you do tours, can you talk about what you do with your tours and going around? Do you actually go around the island as well, or do you do boats?
Yeah, well, when I hook up with Tony, naturally, like there's a driving component. Like he doesn't do any kind of like he assumes that people are going to get to him and then take his tour. One of the newest tours that I've got up, for this year is called an Oak Island Fan Experience.
Okay.
And basically, we pick our guests up in Halifax. We take them. The first thing we do is we go out to the Mahone Bay area, out to see Tony Sampson and his group, and we go for a tour around the island. A lot of you are familiar with that aspect because no doubt, he's quite a popular guy, so to speak, and his services are well known. We've partnered up with him to take guests out there. Then later on, we go for lunch at the Mug and Anchor. And then we're going to go to the island itself. If it's not open, then you can get close enough on public land so that you can take pictures of, with the island in the background and stuff like that.
Yes.
But there's also some other areas that are featured in the show that a lot of people would take interest to, like in Halifax area and in around the Mahone Bay area. I mean, Billy is a big fan favorite, and his shop is nearby in Mahone Bay. So taking a trip by there to see where he calls home is kind of an interesting spot too. So lots of places to check out.
Now, have you ever taken people over the Common Legs farm before? And have you been to New Ross before? And do you visit the petroglyphs and things of that sort while you're there as well?
The petroglyphs, no. I mean, you mean the ones that are out in Overton?
Yes. Well, that's the Overton stone. That's different. There are petroglyphs a little closer to the island, which I've heard about.
Right.
Yes,
no, I've never been there personally. Normally when we do tours, we do them between 6 and 7.5 hours long. So there's only so much you can cover in that period of time.
Wow.
But there's lots to do for sure.
Sure. And so you've been to Carmen's place before, right? Yes.
No, I've never been there.
Never.
I haven't had any
Okay.
call to go there. The New Ross Farm is actually where he was before.
Yes.
I'm not sure where he is now. Apparently, he's no longer there. They moved him to a place in Centerville, which is closer to the Bay of Fundy coast
Gotcha.
there. And but the New Ross Farms, if anybody's looking for like a rural farming type experience, it's quite an interesting spot. I've never been there, but I know people that have, and it's an interesting thing.
There he is.
He's back.
He's back. Jeff, you missed it. You missed it. We had, Marty.
Carry on. No, you're doing great.
And they popped in for a little while, and Charles Burkhouse popped in. You missed it all.
Oh, and I missed it. Oh my gosh.
They found the treasure.
They found the treasure. Made the big announcement, and
you missed it all.
The show's over, Jeff. I mean, thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for going. Okay, well, I'm out. Yeah, bye.
I don't
know what happened. I was talking, and all of a sudden, you guys were frozen. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. No, I'm frozen.
You're in a different square, Jeff.
I know.
Wait. Yeah, we have to fix this. Hold on. I'll be back.
No, it's all right. It's fine. Oh man, so I don't know what happened there, but it just froze. That's the first time that's ever happened.
I think you just got rid of John.
Oh, he wanted to jump out, so I was in the top right or left corner, but I don't know if that's
messing everybody up now.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we do have thunderstorms moving through the area tonight, so but I didn't hear any thunder or didn't see a flash. So anyway, Court. Oh, anyway, so did you guys already cover the whole episode, or are we done?
Yeah, we're done.
Oh, well, all right.
Good night.
Cool.
See you later. We're talking about Halifax and touring.
Oh, nice.
I didn't get to my story about the people that were in Halifax the other day when I was talking to them. They were wanting to know what the stairs were in the new Marquee building that's in downtown Halifax. There's stairs that go into the water.
Uh-huh.
I told them it was like a tunnel to Oak Island, but they didn't. They believed me.
Did they?
Yeah, I said, well, before the water was there, it was an island. It used to go to Oak Island. Oh.
You did. You had to tell them the truth, right?
I told them the truth.
That's hilarious. Well, hopefully it doesn't freeze up again. So maybe we ought to get moving on here before it does.
Wow.
Houston Dave said he has to visit the museum in Halifax. That museum down on Water Street, the Maritime Museum of the Atlantic, is an incredible place. If you're in Halifax, I'm giving them a plug because that's an incredible museum to go see. They got Titanic stuff in there. They've got all sorts of stuff. It's really, really, really neat.
Nice.
So Houston Dave, if you go, by all means, visit there.
Sweet. I know. That's the thing is like John's going to be up there for like a month. Me, I can only spare a week.
Yeah.
And 2 weeks, the Monday through Friday plus the 2 weekends on either end. And then I got to get back to work. But the advantage of being a teacher for John. So,
I know a good tour company you can use, Jeff.
Pardon? Yeah. Exactly. I tell you, I've got Colin for a boat ride, and and Jeff for a scenic ride around, and Karen Public Cover has offered to take a boat, do a boat ride, and of course Tony Sampson has offered for a boat ride. So I tell you what, I'm meeting so many people. Tom Burns up there, and everybody. It's going to be. I don't have enough time, quite honestly. I really don't. So plus if all the people if we end up with 300 or 400 of our Facebook members up there too, man, it's going to be.
I don't know who asked the question. Someone just asked if there's a boat from Maine to Nova Scotia. Yes, the Cat Ferry is going to be running this summer.
Oh, good.
Wow.
From New Brunswick, from Maine to Nova Scotia. I don't know how much it's going to be, but it is running. It is going to run this summer.
Oh, there's Colin. Colin said we're ready for me. All right, good deal. I don't know if you're ready for the whole gang, but yeah, we'll see. Tracy said it wasn't me. I logged off and you went, or I logged on and you went poof. Yeah, I don't know. Well, hopefully it doesn't do it again. That's the first time this thing is ever frozen. So we'll see. Maybe it's too hot up here or something, but all right. So let's get rolling with the show. All right. So we got season 9, episode 19, Shoal Me the Money. I love these. You come up with these names for these things. Shoal Me the Money. I got to reshare the pictures here because it all went when I lost my connection. I had to restart my computer because it was completely frozen.
Wow.
Yeah. All right, there we are. So there's the Curse of Oak Island logo, and we're gonna jump right into the first picture of. And again, man, we got these foggy shots. I just love these. looking at the money pit is right down there. And that's where they start off the show, was in the money pit. Rick and the members of the team are supervising the excavation of the 10-foot can, this one known as DH82, Dan Hensky 82. And they got started with it last week a little bit, and then they jumped into it again this week. Initially, they were at the first, getting ready for the first hammer grab, and they were about at 80 feet of the excavation down there, which was about 10 feet. I think it was, they said 10 feet above where the target area. They wanted to get down below the area where Dunfield had basically, dug. And as they were digging along, you heard Terry Matheson say something about maroon till, or say he was talking about some reddish till. They were starting to get up some reddish till, which was telling him that they were in undisturbed ground. It wasn't backfill from Robert Dunfield. So the Dunfield dig was stopped, of course, because of the flooding, and everything was just falling in. There was pictures showing of that video showing of he just couldn't, get that big hole to be stable, and everything was just caving in. He couldn't get anywhere. Once he got down to about 140 feet, he just could not keep it going, and everything. And then he ended up having to just stop at that point. And they figured that he didn't get far enough. He didn't get deep enough, and he ran into a dead end. And, he just missed it by that much. That was their speculation on that. They figured that maybe he did have it right. And now this particular can, DH82, is over F4 that we showed last week. It was basically centering F4, which was the one where they had the highest concentration in the water sample of gold and silver. Let's see. So that was what was happening with that. And that's why they thought this one was going to be one of their best chances of getting somewhere. As they went along, they ended up, there's Terry. Good to see Terry back at the table in the money pit. He had a little hiatus there for a little while. There's the picture showing DH82, and there's F4, which was basically in the center of the Dunfield dig area, which we know that center was made it down to about, they keep talking about 140 feet. And Doug Crawl was actually mentioning that maybe it didn't go quite that deep. And it certainly was not a big 100-foot diameter hole at the top. It was more, oval shaped, and it wasn't 100 feet. We showed some pictures of that last week. So they are basically going down the center of Dunfield's dig, which would have been reaching the deepest point as they go along. And again, that was where they had the highest concentrations of gold and silver content in the water samples. This one, I grabbed this picture just simply because it shows that can there at 76. And as we talk about this too, we know that they don't always have the pictures coinciding with exactly where they are in the season. We've seen pictures with, yellow in the trees, where the trees are starting to turn, and then all of a sudden they're wearing t-shirts and it looks like midsummer. As we'll talk about a little bit as we go along with the show here tonight. Then Gary got a couple hits, which, that's when we see Gary walk over there with a metal detector, that's what we're after, right? We want to see him get some hits. We've seen how many times, we've seen lots of wood coming up out of there, and that's the common thing. Everybody said, oh, more wood. But, he did get a hit right off, and so they were over digging that. And that one turned out to be another, what we figure is a cribbing spike. Which is cool, but it does tell a story. People get, a little irritated. Oh, they found another cribbing spike. Big deal. But these things do tell a story. And that's the interesting part about it, because each piece does tell us a story. When would that cribbing spike have been used? At what time period?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of gives you a better perspective of, was it maybe original depositors, or was it searchers down building another tunnel trying to get access to the money pit? So when they analyze and they test this stuff, that's when they can get an idea of where that would have been. And it kind of gives them an idea of, are they in the right place? So that's why the wood samples are important, and they get the dendrochronology done, and also the metal samples, so they can find out, is it, what year was it based? So how much can they base it? Do they know where they're hitting searcher wood, or are they hitting something more along the lines of the original depositors, which they don't know exactly when that was. And that's part of the whole deal, right? So how I grabbed this picture real quick because it just shows all the wood. I mean, they don't always show us all the wood that they bring up out of there, but you can see the pile of it back here. Lots and lots of wood comes up out of that hole that we don't see all the time.
Jeff, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely, sir.
Do you have any idea what they do with all that wood?
No, I don't. I'm not really sure. I know that some of the stuff that they think is old, they do get a sample and they send it off to find out what type of wood it is and what kind of date it has to it.
There is some wood in different little museums around from Oak Island. Yeah. From what I've been told, Jeff, is they're storing it.
Are they?
Yeah, it's somewhere stored somewhere.
You would think they're going to keep it. I mean, I wouldn't be, let's throw it in the burn pile, and burn it up.
No, I think they age it and then they date it and then they store it, is what I was told. Because I asked about getting some of it. And they said that they store it.
I tell you what, it'd be worth some money, wouldn't it? I mean, who wouldn't pay to have a piece of it?
Exactly.
I know. I got my little ornament here, and it has the wood chips right in the side of it, right there.
Yep.
And so those are pretty important to me anyway. I love having those pieces of that wood from Oak Island. So, yeah, but you would think you're right that they would store it, and you'd have to have some sort of a big area to be able to put all that together and keep it chronologically to see where they're coming. It makes sense, and they're so good about documenting every single thing that they come across. It makes sense that they would do that, right?
Absolutely.
They can use the wood to build a bigger information center.
They're building the log home.
Yeah, exactly. Build a log home. Yeah, they could.
I'd love to have a crib board made out of it.
Oh, I tell you what, there's a lot of things you could do with some of that wood. I mean,
we asked, and then we asked for some of it to do a fundraiser, and they kind of said no.
They graciously declined.
Yeah. So we got the hats.
We got the hats. Yeah, you got the hats. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm just reading some of the chat here that's going by. I missed so much that. Let's see. They can't dig it.
Well, if they build a bigger information center, they would definitely have to have more things to put in it, because sometimes when you go in there, you will kind of wish you'd see more artifacts in there. And I know I'm led to believe that they might have a hard time getting them from the province, so that might be an issue too.
Right, and I was told too that they keep stuff at a museum up there too, isn't there? Some of the artifacts in
we
a
have
museum.
our archives here in Halifax.
So yeah, that's another place to go and see some of that stuff, and I would love to at some point, because they do share it with a museum. And I know we were just talking about it. There was actually a post on our Facebook group about that. Just within the last day or so, there were some pictures. I'm scrolling through, but I don't see it. But anyway, did you see that picture that Laird had? He put it up on our group, or Jan shared it. It showed the Ball Foundation from an aerial view. That was really neat. That was Laird had put that up from the Samuel Ball. He felt really bad that it was neglected last year, and he had a drone shot from it at the end of 2020. So that was really neat. I love him. I love when he shares that kind of stuff with us. So there's, I grabbed this picture here, and I'll bring this back up. Let's see. There we go. And this is, showing some of the wood that's coming out of there, of course. And here's that big chunk of iron that Gary found with the metal detector. He was saying he thought maybe it was a pickaxe, a part of a broken pickaxe. Very well could be. And I guess, was this the piece that he said if it's iron, it'll beep really fast on his on a pinpoint detector, and he put it up there and it did. So he said it was definitely made out of iron. And so some sort of a pickaxe. But they'll take that over to the machine, that new I've forgotten what the name of that new scanner that they got. That's it's a overgrown XRF scanner that they've got over in the research center, or it's in the welcome center. And they'll get a look at this thing and just see what it's all about. And see exactly what it was. That'd be interesting. It's funny because on the preview, Rick said that's really old, but the way that they edited it almost sounded like he said gold. I thought during the preview he said gold, but he said that's old. So it had me going there for a minute. I thought, what's gold? But now it turns out it was old, he said. Yeah, so there's another look at it right there. So they did find some wood. They did find some pieces of metal that they will take a look at and get some analysis of as they go along. And they made it down to about 104 feet. One thing I wanted to point out too was at one point they said, that the cans will go down faster when it's in backfill. It doesn't have to. It's not so strenuous for it to dig with the oscillator as it goes down. So they'll go through that pretty quick. But one of the things that they had mentioned was about where they would be. They started off the day at about 80 feet, and that they thought that they would be able to get down to a level of about 110 by the end of the day. That's about 30 feet. So we were always trying to speculate, how long does it take to put a can in when they go down to 150 feet or so? How long does that take? Does it take a week? So yeah, I would say so. Probably about a week per can to get that deep.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of makes sense. Seems like it.
I think they mentioned that before.
Yeah. We've kind of, we've talked about it. So how far can it go in a day? But again, it depends on the soil composition. If it's in virgin soil, it's going to take a little longer, a lot of rock. But if it's in backfill, it's not as compact.
It goes quick.
Yeah. It'll go down much quicker.
Yep.
I think by the end of the day, they did make it down to 104 feet, and then they called it a day. And of course, I wanted them to get the lights out and keep on going because I'm thinking, what are you stopping for? Keep going. And then I look at the clock and I see that it was right at 10 o'clock, and I'm like, the show's over. Come on, I want more. We're really hoping to see some great things coming out of the money pit. I unfortunately, it's been a little bit of the first two cans that they put in have been kind of a bust. Honestly, they didn't find anything in the first one, and then the second one. I'm trying to forget. I don't know why the computer locking up on me just kind of looped my brain here. But the first can that they put down, and then the second one really didn't result, and they didn't get any good results out of either one of those.
No.
Now this one going down in the center of the Dunfield dig, or early Christmas one. That was one of them, and the Fellowship one. So we'll see. But they were talking about doing 4. This is 3. They're not quite at that target area. As you can see on this picture here, you can see the numbers on the can. There's your 135 feet right there. So that's where they're going to be going next week. So they'll get that down. But we were talking about the fact that the stopping, hitting the bedrock at about 150 feet. And some of us have been a little bit, concerned about that, or I've been a little concerned about that. And Tom Burns, if you could bring that up again, I think you had mentioned something that you found from Vanessa, where they had gone down to a depth and they found one of the cans that was dropping. It was a couple seasons back.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Jan. It was a couple of seasons back that they had an area where it dropped for a little ways. And she said there was like no pressure on the can at all. And the oscillator going down, there was like zero pressure. And they had reached under almost 200 feet. Did they not? Do you guys remember? Do any of you remember that? And Tom had brought that up. And I thought, now they're hitting bedrock at 150 feet. I'm thinking they're not going deep enough. And I'm still kind of concerned about that. And I don't know what's maybe I have to rethink this a little bit, but and I'm going to have to go back and watch that. But Tom Burns had brought that up. He had found where Vanessa was talking about. They were down about 202. I think they got down to 202. Yeah, there it is there. I'm going to pop that up.
The void, yep.
Yeah. Yeah, they hit a void around 200 feet. So what's the problem now? Why are they getting down to 150 or so and they're all stop?
Because of
Something's
the bedrock. But you're suggesting was something intentionally put there, and or did they find a hole in the natural bedrock and then burrowed down, and that's maybe where something's located?
I think they need to go through it. I think they need to push on through it. I don't know. I'm just. It just seemed like at some point they were deeper than that, and then they found a void.
When they went to 200, did they bore through the bedrock?
I don't recall. I'm going to have to go back and watch that again.
Maybe someone knows. Maybe one of our viewers knows or our listeners know.
Dave Petrella just brought up the fact that he said they had to punch through bedrock to get to C1 cavity with a special tool. Oh yeah, I remember they were punching at it or something. So yeah, something's.
But were they drilling? Or they weren't using cans.
That wasn't well. C1 was a can that went down.
It wasn't okay.
Yeah,
200 feet.
Yeah, the Caisson can't punch through it, so they had to punch through it with something else.
Yes, that's what I thought.
And they got down to that cavity, and then when you put a camera down in it at the beginning of this season, we saw some things that I kept saying they look like wrought iron. It looked like wrought iron pieces down there, and some piece of like webbing of some kind of metal mesh down there. It was in a cavity down there in C1. So. What's the problem?
Well, that would be very reminiscent of things that they've pulled up from 10X, for God's sake. If we're comparing them, you know, the void, you know, and the metal and you know the webbing and things of that. That's 10X.
Yeah,
you know, because those type of things were in 10X.
Yep. So I'm
that's
just
interesting.
It is. I just keep. I don't know, and I need to get some. We have to get some of the guys on the show, and maybe get a better explanation of this if we can, if they will. C1 started as a borehole though. Okay. Yeah, Deidre, that's right. It did. You're right. C1 was originally a borehole. But I do remember that episode where they were talking when Danny was telling Vanessa that they were having zero resistance, or pretty much zero resistance on the Caisson on the oscillator at that point. Yeah, and they did. Yeah, that was Henry that said that. Henry said that. Yeah, Dan found similar metal things down in 10X.
Yep.
And 10X was something that was off the. It wasn't even in the money pit area. I think that, and I'm still a believer that 10X tapped into a tunnel that was leading to the money pit. And I think he found it. I think he hit it, and I think it continues on and went over to the money pit from 10X. And 10X goes pretty deep, does it not? 180 some feet, 200 feet
in that area. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they still had two posts on the scan that had mysteriously disappeared when they went diving. I'm still not convinced that they're not still there.
Yep.
You know, there's just certain things that the scans indicated. And, you know, even though a diver was put down and they couldn't find it, I'm not convinced that they're not there still.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And Dan had footage, you know, of certain things in the 10X when he went diving. And so, yeah, are there things down there? Absolutely, there are things down there. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, Jeff, do you remember that? Do you remember that when they were in C1 and they sent the camera down and they saw those things down there?
Yeah, that was interesting for sure.
Yeah, there was definitely metal down there. And there was a couple, looked like there was something that was laying up against the side of the side wall of the chamber. Yeah, thank you, Tom. 10X is about 230 feet. Now, granted, it's higher. Huh?
There's videos that were taken that Dan took. I mean, some of them are so fuzzy. I mean, you can obviously read too much into them, I think.
Sure.
And a lot of wishful thinking.
Yep.
When they said there was a presumed body that they saw down there, boy, when I saw that video, I don't know. I had to look really hard to see that body, if you know what I mean. It was just...
Yeah, very true. And again, he was going by what he saw with his eyes too when he was down there, but also the camera footage from. And again, it was not good camera footage. The post came out pretty clear, but I think some of the other things that they pointed out, like the box that I think it was John Chatterton went down and dove in it later, and he said that box was more or less a rock.
Sure.
You know, it wasn't a box; it was a rock that was down there. But that wasn't supposed to be a treasure chamber. That was supposed to be just a void area that he thought might get him access to the money pit.
Sure. But what's interesting, Jeff, if you go into the interpretive center, is there are actually, some displays with what Dan found, and there are metal objects and tools that he found at depth. Mm-hmm. So, even at the footage, maybe we're matrixing, maybe we're not seeing what we think we're seeing or want to see, but you can't explain away the actual artifacts that Dan pulled out of 10X.
Right.
That are on display. That you can't explain away. And there were definitely metal tools, and it's right there on display. So you can't.
And how did they get down there?
That's it. How did they get down there?
They weren't dropped in because he's the one that made the hole.
Correct.
Yeah. So I
can't explain that away.
Did Dale fall asleep?
No.
Maybe that's what Amy said. Did Dale fall asleep?
No, I'm just thinking. I'm waiting. I was just looking online. Actually, I'm trying to find out if they're going to do the big dig next year.
Oh,
they're talking about doing the honeycombing of it.
Yeah, I know. Well, they're kind of almost doing it now, but yeah.
I was just looking to see if there's anything posted, but if there's not, that's what I was. Sorry.
No, you're fine. So I know that's what John is always researching. So he'll hear me say something, and he jumps on YouTube real quick or somewhere researching what I was just talking about. So he's doing that quite a bit.
Because you're talking about the different holes, and I was thinking, when are they going to do the honeycomb part? And I was looking it up online there.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's probably going to be the only solution for them to find something definite.
Well, it's true, but you know what? Until they actually hit and find something, the one thing, like Rick keeps saying, the big dig is off the table because they need to.
That's one central spot.
Well, how many holes? How many holes are in the money pit? Well,
over 400.
Wow.
I mean, they've drilled. I don't know how many just in the money pit alone. Deidre could probably tell us because she's been keeping track of Steven's drill program pretty closely. I don't know how many. I think they did over 400 in the area, but I don't know about just in the money pit. But Deidre, do you know how many they've done? But just in the money pit area, it's like Swiss cheese. But they can't do a big dig until they know for sure where where's the center of that big dig is going to be.
You know what I often wonder too? They find like, I can't remember what hole it was where they found the shiny thing, the shiny gold thing. Mm-hmm. Why couldn't they take that can out and put a humongous can in there, like a 10-foot, and just dig that spot? Because there was something there apparently.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
No, I mean, if they have a proven location where something was found significant, then do it.
Yeah.
That's what I would have done.
For sure, in H8.
Yeah.
H8.
That was the biggest finds were in those two holes.
Right. What was that, Jeff?
If you go back to last season when they talked about, the season-ending show where Spooner was saying that, they have a Gerhardt dump truck full of silver in that location.
Yeah.
Like, you almost have to start questioning the data at this point because, I mean, if the numbers were leading to that conclusion, then obviously this can't be that elusive. A dump truck is not an easy thing to hide.
No,
if it was that much material. So at this point, they aren't admitting it on TV, but at this point, you almost have to think as a viewer, was it correct to assume that was the case to begin with?
Yeah. And all we can do at that point was that we can try to rely on what data they are getting and how they're going about getting it. And so, they had Matt out there and Dr. Spooner, and they got the water samples, and they went back and had them tested. And based upon what they found in the water sample, that's where he was talking about a Gerhardt dump truck full of silver.
This spot where the shiny gold thing was, they even sent a diver down there. The diver it looked like a coin to everybody. When they seen it, when he dropped it, it looked like a coin.
That was C1.
They should have put a humongous can over that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and they've gone down either side of it.
Yeah.
They've gone down either side of it. The first two cans went down on either side of C1. And
Jeff, they should have took that can that's in there now out and put a brand new one in.
Yep. A bigger one. Yeah, I know.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
I need to be the new director. That's it. We'll get it going.
Yeah. Let's see. Deidre says, I was working on the money pit grid today. I don't know the exact number right now, but it's over 400 after this last season. So there you go. So that's a lot of boreholes that they've punched into that area. So,
and Jeff, you could put a can right down where they found the human bones. That would be
H8.
an interesting place to, H8 be a great place to put,
And didn't they have another spot where they found a chamber? It's been shown. They said there's a chamber with a little abutment at the end of it.
Yeah.
And they didn't talk about that anymore.
That was on the scanning that they had done.
And it looked square. It was there.
Put a can right down on top of it.
Yeah, exactly.
I think so.
Getting frustrated.
Yeah, and that's just at 400 holes, and that was just a money pit area. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. That's what Jake was saying. That's just, it's crazy how many. And that's why I say, now they're putting these big cans down there, and the first two were a bust. The second one or the third one, so far, they haven't really come up with much. They did find a pickaxe, which was neat. But, we'll see what they come up in the next 50 feet or so until they run into bedrock and all stop again. But this third one, if they do a fourth one, I'm kind of curious where the fourth one's going to go. Maybe it will be H8. I'm not sure. I don't know. They haven't told us yet for sure. If they do,
hopefully they're saving the best for last.
I hope so. I hope so, because at the end, if they put in 4 caissons, and I don't want to be the downer on the show, but if they put in 4 caissons this season, and they come up empty-handed, and all 4 of them, what's that going to say for moving on with? If there is something in the money pit area, they've got to come in from another way. They need to go pull the plug on the eye of the swamp and come in that way or something. I don't know. It's just. Yeah, it is getting a bit frustrating, a little bit.
Oh,
but
Jeff, you can't do the eye of the swamp. It's in a no dig zone.
Yeah, I know.
So
many people are saying, why don't they just strip mine it? But it's like, no,
you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Yeah,
no one's going to.
I know it's frustrating, and I mean, people get frustrated watching. Just think how the Lagana brothers feel about this.
Exactly. Right. That was a point I was going to make next.
They are probably so disappointed if they don't find anything this year, but. There's always next year, and they are back. One of them is back. I know that.
Yep. Yeah, well, Rick was sighted in the area, so he's back.
I saw him in Halifax.
Yeah. Yep.
You saw him in Halifax, Dale?
Yeah, I saw him down at the government building.
Wow.
Anyway, shh.
Yep.
I'm positive it was him. I was going by quickly, but I'm almost positive it was him going into one.
He'd be pretty easy to pick out in a group, I think. That he's so recognizable.
Yep.
Was he going into government one?
Yeah. The premier's office, but that's where the premier.
Right, exactly. That was my point. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm almost positive it was him, but I can't 100% confirm it.
Yeah. Well, could be. We know that he has to, or they have to, iron a few things out.
Yeah.
So hopefully that'll get ironed out this year, and then those areas that are off the table right now will get on the table again, and that has to be handled through the government.
And the show's taped, so they may just be waiting for the big finale.
Yeah, maybe. So, yeah, they're going to give us a cliffhanger. They will.
Exactly. But like I said, you gotta. The frustration with everybody is real, but you got to think about the rest of the crew on the show, the cast.
It must be getting late in this. It must be getting late in the season, because when they showed several of the scenes there, it looks like there's heavy.
Those cans were in October.
Yeah, those cans were late October, early November, anyway.
Yep, exactly.
Well, yeah. I think this is a great comment here, and I've always wondered about this. Is there a second entrance to the money pit area?
Yes.
And Jeff, you and I have discussed this.
Yes.
Jeff B, what do you think? Is there an alternative entrance to the money pit area? In your opinion?
There's an elevator.
Very well could be. I tell you, I find all the theories fascinating. Everybody has their own individual thought on everything and theory. And I just kind of personally, I don't really know what to think. I mean, everybody has such divergent, viewpoints on it that it's astounding what, how this has captivated everybody's imagination and attention, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
But you very well could be right. There could be a second entrance there that they just haven't come across yet.
Yep.
Jan said to start the Muon scans. I think they're probably doing them over the winter.
I think the Muon scans, quite honestly, folks, have been going on since, remember the drilling down episode when Joe Lessard was on the island, right? And it was Maddie Blake was there talking with him. They were punching the holes, and he was talking about the technology. He was talking about the Muon technology. So that started while they were all still there searching the money pit, and before the caissons ever started. So it was probably August, early September, maybe, when that was filmed. And so that's when I believe that's when the muon technology was beginning. And I think it went on all winter. So
I
we'll
think
be
it
able
was
to
sitting there all
see.
winter when it's nice and quiet.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're going to get to see the results of that the first part of this year, hopefully.
And I honestly think some of the guys were there all winter to monitor that.
They had to be. Well, yeah,
they were there. So
some of the guys are on the island all winter long. So
and I think it was there to monitor those muon scans.
Yep, the locals.
Yep.
Steve and Scott Barlow and all them guys they got work to do there.
Well, Jeff, we know that the money pit area is booby trapped, or we think it's booby trapped. Would there be I mean, Tom Burns makes a great point. Would there be a ventilation system in place?
There
had to be. And remember, the waters were 8 to 10 feet lower than they are now.
Yes.
That ventilation system might not have been underwater at that point.
Exactly.
It might be underwater now because you're 10 feet higher in tides, but it would have to be, wouldn't it? There would have to be a second entrance or something.
Yeah. There has to be a way to get fresh air into a dig that deep. When you go down that deep, there has to be a way to get fresh air in there. Or their guys
Every coal mine in Nova Scotia has that.
Exactly. There has to be other tunnels.
There has to be a way.
Where are those other tunnels? And you make a great point, John. If that water level was that much lower, they could have been above ground then and now are not. Hence all the water in the money pit.
Correct.
So was it really flood tunnels or was it who said that? Colin, quit it.
Mining shafts.
What did he say? Mining shafts. Yeah.
Yeah.
I know
But we
that's what he
talked
said.
about that before about the money pit shaft, the one that they said the boys. It wasn't boys; they were men, young men. But the one that the Vaughn, Smith, and McGinnis found, the money pit, we were talking about it being nothing more than a chimney, and a way to lower things in and out of the hole. But it being a chimney, you build a fire at the bottom. The smoke draws up. It draws air in from fresh air tunnels, providing fresh air, and it all goes up like a chimney right up through there, and the smoke and everything exits. So that would make perfect sense that could have been the case. You have to have other entrances or other tunnels leading in there to get that fresh air. Plain and simple. So where are those? Did any of them go towards the swamp? Because the swamp would have been more dry back then as well.
Well, it would have had the natural spring running through it, which has always run through it.
Right.
At least I
know
think
about the natural spring. Yep.
But it would have been 10 feet lower, 8 feet lower. That's why there was a pier. That's why the road was there.
Yep.
A bulkhead or pier, in place. So all that makes sense.
Yep.
I think those box drains had something to do with it.
The what?
Box drains.
Because if the water level was lower.
Yeah.
Well, they wouldn't be box drains at that point. They would be ventilation holes.
Exactly.
True. And then you could have used them and blocked them off and made them somehow
correct.
Once you open up, you see they might have been holding water back while everything was
being done
tight. Yes.
And when the guys dug down to that level, they opened the cork, so to speak, and allowed now the water to rush in that was being held back because of it being airtight at one point. Again, I'm not a geologist. I don't know, I'm not science, I don't have the education on how these things work, but it kind of makes sense. But now it's flooded because you pop that cork and the water comes in.
But Smith's Cove would be completely dry land, would it not?
Yes.
You move the tides back 10 feet or the waters back 10 feet.
Yes.
So those, those would be the finger drains would be ventilation shafts.
Yep. Yeah.
And that makes total sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It could have been converted, knowing that the water levels were rising. They could have been converted later to be a booby trap after they were done.
Could have, but that would have been
ventilation
years later. Like you're talking hundreds of years later when the tides started to,
because Smith's Cove is pretty shallow, is it not? Jeff, have you been out there? Do you know Smith's Cove is kind of shallow? I mean, even when it's full tide, it's not that deep because we've seen Steve Guptill standing out there in his boots before when he was doing his. So if you take the water level down a foot for every 100 years?
Yes, for every 100 years.
You go down 7 feet, and that you could walk out Smith's Cove quite a ways at that point, I would think.
Probably. Someone said the old slipway, etc., in Smith's Cove would have been exposed land years ago.
Yeah,
would have to be.
Yes,
that's what I'm thinking. Those box drains were ventilation.
Yeah, could very well be.
But then you had Dan Blankenship, who saw the 4 whirlpools out there at one point in the
Ice
ice.
holes.
I think the ice holes.
Those darn ice holes.
And that very well could have been part of the booby trap system, and the ventilation shafts would be the Smith's Coves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
they
makes
could
sense to
never
me.
find those holes again, could they?
When they were diving out there this year too. That's coming up. We haven't seen that on the show yet, but they were diving right out where those ice holes were in that general area. I don't know if it's exactly. Colin had pictures of them out there. So was it exactly where the ice holes were? I don't know, but they were out there in that area. So pretty pretty interesting. Oh man, I tell you, it's so much to talk about. I mean, really, when you get digging into the money pit area like this, and
but that makes perfect sense. And remember, Jeff, the ventilation shafts would be in different places. You wouldn't just have one.
No, you'd have a couple.
The dye test proves that there were several ventilations. The history of the dye test, that there are several places where the dye, bubbled up,
right,
in and around Oak Island, which proves that there's more than one, ventilation or booby trap, there. But we see the tide 10 feet, and now you have several ventilation shafts, which makes perfect sense. You wouldn't just have one.
Yep.
You had several.
Yep. Exactly.
And just like mines, I think, Colin says ancient mine, that's a mining technique.
Yeah. Yep. Coconut fibers. Yep. To filter the air shaft. Yep.
Yep.
So, I mean, there has
possibility.
to be. And you're not going to have them all in one area. You're going to move them around in different places. So one could be over toward the swamp and one out Smith's Cove and one off South Shore.
Someone asked if the ice holes have been seen since Dan seen them.
I don't know. The ice holes were on South Shore. Yes. Bonnie said that. Yes, that's where they were. That's where Dan remembered seeing. He took a picture of them. There was actually a photograph of them.
They tried to find them with dye. Did they not here a number of years ago or initially early on?
What's that?
Helicopters. They had helicopters and they used green dye to try to locate them.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where they were looking to see where the green dye would come out to see what kind of flood tunnels there were. And they did see the green, or they saw the red dye showing up in Smith's Cove for sure. The green dye, I think they didn't really tell us much about that. And I think I saw the photographs over the from the helicopter, and it looked to me like there was green dye there.
Yeah.
And you go over to the boat and you're like, oh, there's nothing here. It's like, wait a minute. It really did look like green dye. I think I don't know. Were they holding back information?
Was it an algae plume? I mean,
someone said, yes, we've seen those. Is that Colin?
Let's see. Ice holes aren't that uncommon. That's what he said. That's what Colin said. Colin, if you want to jump on, I can send you the link if you want to pop in with us.
Yeah, I'm interested in these ice holes too.
Colin has some insight.
Yeah, he said they're not that uncommon. So what causes the ice holes? I mean, it would have to be warm water jetting up in a particular area, would it not? I mean, what's going to cause an ice hole? Wouldn't it? I know. Be careful how I say it.
Don't say it too fast.
No,
I almost said 3 times.
That's what Deidre was always laughing about. That there's darn ice holes. But the warm water streaming up or something. I mean, how else would it be formed?
Tom said freshwater spring.
Freshwater springs would do it.
Yep, that's true. Freshwater spring in 4 different spots. Maybe it's bubbling up right there in 4 different places. I don't know. So, well, we've concluded, at least amongst us, that it had to be ventilation shafts, and they could have went everywhere out from the. But there had to be.
Is it just the ventilation shafts just confined to the money pit area, or do we think there's further tunneling away from the money pit area, like the eye of the swamp, the hatch, other places?
Yes,
that might have been. How extensive was that tunneling system?
Yeah,
opinions.
Well, yes, and also the fact that it might have been natural tunnels that they were using. Because remember when they did that, scanning, when the guys went back and they took another look at new software and took a look at the seismic testing that had been done across the Money Pit and Smith's Cove area, that's where they found those tunnels that they were able to kind of go inside of with the camera view.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about that line heading over to that square 12 by 12 chamber with a little poke out that was under the money pit area. Okay. So those kind of looked like natural chambers. So maybe they were utilizing natural chambers and just using them to their own advantage. So I don't know.
The mug and anchor.
Oops, hang on. There we go. I just realized that the Facebook was paused. So anyway, lots to talk about there. I know. And going back to the whole thing, saying a bit about if they don't come up with anything in DH82 and they end up having to go to, another, a fourth can, where are they going to put it? But they really need to get some kind of conclusion in the money pit this year, I think. Don't you think? I mean, to me, I think that if they don't come up with something, at the end of this season with the cans going in, where do you go next? I mean, do you spend the money to put more 10-foot cans in the money pit area, or do you move to other spots? I don't know.
It just seems like every episode they keep encountering less and less and less.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
it's got to be a point of diminishing returns.
I hope they find something for viewership, because this is.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're losing people because they're not finding anything.
Well, it could be. One of the things that they did, they went back over and they got to look at, and I want to jump back into my pictures here. We've got the guys, that's Gary and Marty, heading over. They are in lot 8. They're heading over to lot 8. Now, this is the one where they found that garnet brooch that had the red garnet in it. And then under that red garnet, they actually found gold flake on the actual metal, the fitting. I was trying to think of the thing that holds it, the actual brooch itself without the setting. So they actually found a little bit of gold in there. And so when they got that, this was that same general area. So they did go in and they did some clearing in here, got some trees taken out. Gary went in and did some metal detecting, and they got all these little red, little orange markers around the place. So they went in and they started doing some digging, or some metal detecting and digging. And that's the guys there. So and there's the brooch that they found. That was the one they found like 4 seasons ago. 2018.
Yep.
They found that. They found this piece right here. This was like a little piece of couple pieces of linked metal, like a chain, and they were speculating about it being some sort of either draft horse or maybe oxen rigging of some sort for a bit or something. I don't think they use bits on oxen, but I don't know. We'll just have to see what Carmen Legg's got to get on this and find out. I think he's out there next week's show, so we'll find out what Carmen says this is. But this was kind of a cool find. And again, they keep finding these weird objects over there in this area.
Yep.
One thing that I noted that they said on the show was lots 4 and 8. Remember, they were out there with that when the guys did that. He had that backpack scanning that he walked around that whole area with the backpack scanning. And there's another look at that piece there. That chain piece or whatever that is. And then, they found this look like a little miniature adze is what it is. A small one. You can see like it was sharpened on one end right here and broken on the other end. They found that was pretty cool. That was kind of a neat find. So we'll get a better look at those. But they talked to the guys at the research center. This is when they brought out Colin Toole and Taylor Pierce. And these were the guys that were with the CSR Geosurveys Limited. And they got the group there in the research center. And there's Colin right there. And of course, there's Taylor. Now, they've got these guys. Remember, this is where the same team had done the backpack scanning around the entire island. And they found the anomaly of metal. It was a metal hit right here. That was on the actual road, or just off the road that comes in. And then that was lot 4. I think that was right around lot 4. And then they had this one up here, this other hit up here. Before they actually applied for permits to be able to excavate these 2 sites. And one of the things that they had mentioned on the show last night was that it could take several more weeks before they get these permits. So in the meanwhile, they were digging up other hits that Gary had got, or maybe it was with these guys that hit smaller hits that they had got found, that they went and dig them up. Those they can dig up. These, for a deep excavation, they need to get a permit. And you must understand that frustration that those guys would be going through trying to get these permits to be able to do this. How long is it taking? I mean, those were found early in the year in the filming.
COVID's really slowed the government down here for stuff because everybody's working from home.
Yeah, very true.
So that's why it's taking longer than normal, probably.
And at that point, when they're doing this stuff, he mentioned several more weeks. So did they ever even get the permits by the end of the filming season last year?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I don't know. And just think of the frustration that they must be going through. That if they could, they would have had Billy Gerhardt out there with the backhoe digging it up right now. I mean, he would have been, he would have been there right now. As soon as they got done with the scanning and they had the presentation showing them these spots, they would have been digging it if they didn't have to go through all of this.
I'm pretty sure if COVID wasn't happening, they would have had their permits very quick.
I would hope.
But everything is backed up here in the province because of COVID.
Wow.
With everybody working from home. Government offices were closed and everything like that. It even took weeks to get a driver's license renewed.
That's crazy.
To access Nova Scotia. So I can see it. I can see them not having them right away.
Yeah, that was funny. We were talking about the money pit and the 400 holes that they dug around the money pit.
Yep.
Tom made a comment. He said if they hadn't filled in those 400 holes, they would have had the big dig done already.
Probably some truth to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, I just, when I hear things like that on the show, that kind of keys me because I think, man, how would those guys? I mean, they just the frustration level with being to continue to do what they want to do and having to wait with their hands tied, behind their back.
Look, you have an entire film crew there from Prometheus, right?
Yeah.
And imagine them waiting around for the permits, and then you're going to have to, keep exploring. You're not going to waste time, so you're going to go to different parts of the island, and that's what we're seeing because you're waiting around for permits.
Well, someone posted, they said even before COVID, it took 2 years to get a permit just to dig up that depression near Samuel Ball's place.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
and now it's sitting dormant, and that Laird would love to be back in there.
Yep.
And I understand it takes time. I'm not knocking it. I mean, it's just the process, but you got to keep moving forward. As Rick always says, let's move forward, keep moving forward.
Wait for a permit, go somewhere else.
Yeah. Go somewhere else. Yep.
Yeah, here's the scanning. Here's a wide picture of the scanning that they had done while they were on the island. And I didn't realize they had walked to the whole island except for lot 5, which they're not allowed.
Mm-hmm.
And then this lot here, which I think is a Blankenship lot.
Yeah.
Everywhere else they did the scanning on the island. Oh, Nolan's. I think they weren't. I don't know. Don't see anything right there around Nolan's where the house is. Piece, but that's that one spot right there. And then of course this one's the other one. And then all these other little anomalies around the place.
And Jeff, that other one that you just had, that was near the hatch, or was that the hatch?
Yeah, this was near the hatch.
Near the hatch.
They kept saying it was the hatch, but it wasn't because the hatch was like way over here. In Xena's map, the hatch is like way over here. So, and this one, they kept saying something near the hatch.
Near the hatch.
But I mean, I would be chomping at the bit to at the proverbial bit to get in here and dig that up. So the magnetometer will send out magnetic pulses that will detect iron deposits buried as deep as 30 feet. Earlier this year, they had scanned lots 4 and 8. Of course, they did a lot more. The hole under the hatch was noted on the map that it was given by the team by Xena Halpern, and possibly goes back to the 14th century. The scans done on lots 4 and 8 revealed some large anomalies on the lots like you see here on the map. But again, I know that they went around the whole island. So, doing
maybe this year they're getting permits for everything for next year.
that would be awesome.
I think that's what
That
it
would
might be
really
happening.
be awesome
I
because
think they're getting all the permits in place this year for next year.
yeah, I think
Makes
that would
sense.
be
You know, obviously, they were waiting around for a lot of stuff because I mean, I really like that the new show that they have with the Oak Island and beyond. But they seem to have lots of extra time on their hands to get involved in those episodes. So obviously, there is a lot of waiting.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, permits take forever right now.
And I don't know what the different colors mean. The greener colors over here and these darker colors. I don't know. Soil composition,
Elevation,
maybe.
possibly.
But right here where the eye of the swamp is, that's the pretty deep red.
I got a question for you, Jeff. I don't know. I don't remember this. And someone asked earlier, why aren't they allowed to dig in the eye of the swamp this year?
Because
Did they
that's
find there?
that's one of the areas that's cordoned off because of the Mi'kmaq finds.
Did they find something there though?
Yeah. It was mentioned. Laird has talked about that a little bit. We're going to have, when we have Laird on, we're going to ask him about that. And that show is coming up on the 23rd of April. We waited that long because we wanted him to really be able to talk about some stuff. That because the show is, like I said before, you have them on too soon and they really can't elaborate on what's going on in the island until it's been aired. But so Laird is going to be here and we're going to ask him about that. But he made a comment about the fact that what they showed down here in the southeast corner of the swamp and on the show, remember he got out those little pieces of pottery that actually looked like a hunk of clay to me or a hunk of dirt. He said those were pieces of pottery. He said that's the least of what they found. The least of what they found. And
So
so
must have been an old encampment site.
yeah, they did not show us all the other pieces that they found. That was not aired. For whatever reason, Prometheus decided not to air it.
Maybe they weren't allowed.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, it's at their discretion, I think. But anyway, so that area there was cordoned off. The area right around in here, there's a big circle right there that was cordoned off. That's where they were following the road that was going up and almost getting right into the backside of Nolan's house property where they keep the grass cut up here. They were coming. So that area there is cordoned off. And then all the area outside of the money pit area was cordoned off. There was a piece over here by Smith's Cove over here, just north of Smith's Cove was cordoned off. So they found, like he said, that was the least of what they had found, what was shown on the episode. So there was some significant other finds. And we'll get more detail on that when we have Laird on the show on the 23rd of April. So we'll get more.
You think that information would be great for like a digging down episode?
Yeah. You're right. They would. And it might, and maybe when we get Maddie back on, we'll have to ask him about that too. Cause you're right. You're exactly right. That would be a good, cause they always talk about like the top 10 finds and things you never saw and all that, that would be a good one for sure.
The local, it seems to be on a lot of the boards, the Mi'kmaq involvement is sort of, they're taking a lot of heat as a result of this, as though like they're stymieing, the efforts on the show. I really wish they would probably, if they could have some of their, like on one of those episodes, maybe have a native archaeologist make an appearance and talk about what's going on.
That would be smart.
Give their perspective, because all we're doing is contemplating on things that what we're seeing, but we're not seeing it, their perspective on it either.
Right. They need to work together. I think that's a great idea. If they could get a representative out from the Mi'kmaq people to come out and archaeologists that, and come and work with them, because what they're doing actually does them benefit by finding these things, does it not? I mean, if they have Laird and the other archaeologists out here working, what they find benefits the Mi'kmaq heritage.
Sure.
So if they could work together, figure out a way, and maybe they are. And again, I'm saying this from a complete area of not knowing what's really truly going on behind the scenes with all this. Right. But it seems like to me that it would make sense for them to work together because it would do them both a favor.
Well, Jeff, there's no Oak Island without contact with the Mi'kmaq at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the history of the island. There's no going up Gold River, the New Ross, without the Mi'kmaq help. You have to. There's trading going on. with
First Nations
settlers and the First Nation. There has to be, and if they don't like you, guess what? You're not going to go any further than Oak Island.
Right.
There has to be some kind of cooperation between the First Nation and European explorers.
Exactly.
During the age of exploration or prior.
Yep.
So Mi'kmaq history and the First Nation history is part of the island. And I think they should have a representative saying, "Hey, this is what we found. It's part of the island. It's part of the island's history." I think it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree 100%. You go back to the time of whoever it was it the Templars or was it the Scottish or was it
the Portuguese or
Sir Francis Bacon, whoever it was that was out there had to get along and make friends with the First Nations people. They had to,
correct,
or they're
because
not going to get anywhere.
They were prominent here.
Yeah. They're not going to get anywhere. Anybody that made pre-Columbian contact in North America had to get along with the indigenous peoples, or they're not going to get very far.
No, not at all.
Unless they do like the Spanish did down in, Aztecs and go in there with a bunch of people and ships and wipe them out. But obviously they didn't do that. But you're going to have to get along with them to get very far. And so I think that it's a benefit to both. Like we talked about the Overton Stone with Terry
DeVoe.
Yeah, Terry DeVoe. And the fact that did the carving on the Overton Stone commemorate a meeting and an agreement of the peoples? I think it does. I mean, unless it was faked, which they haven't been able to actually determine. Was it ever faked? How old is it truly? If it's real, it would show some sort of a collaboration or a meeting of the two and some sort of an agreement showing the two sides, because you got the Portuguese cross with the First Nation symbols.
What does the Mi'kmaq oral history have to say about that? Is there any kind of anything in their oral history that would suggest
about
that?
The Overton Stone?
Yeah,
you would think there would be. And Terry, that's a good question for Terry. We didn't ask him that. That's a good question. I'm going to have to ask him that question now and see what he says about that, because there would have to be some record of it in the Mi'kmaq.
Wow, that's a great question.
That is.
Because they don't have any. They didn't have the ability to write anything down, so everything got passed around down to stories naturally, and they were great storytellers. So something of that monumentous occasion would almost command that it would have a great legend to tell about it.
Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, Kat Fulton says that the tobacco leaf was not a Mi'kmaq thing until way later. That I don't know. You could be right, and Kat probably knows. I have no idea myself. I don't know. That's a good question, Woken One. AO, man. Did Samuel Ball find his treasure buried in one of the lots he brought from Cap James Cook? James Anderson? Yeah, as he found something. I think a lot of people speculate that he found some sort of treasure. I don't think he found the money pit treasure. But again, you heard me say before, there was two different records that came out about the time that the three, found the money pit. One of the records had Samuel Ball, McGinnis, and Vaughn, I think, or Smith. And then later, the second one came out saying his Ball's name was taken off, and it was Smith, Vaughn, and McGinnis.
Oh my goodness!
So why did Ball's name disappear off the second one, and somebody else added, and he wasn't part of it? He owned property in 1795. He owned a couple of lots on the island when the money pit was found. So, I don't know.
Well, the story was changed. We know the story was changed because they weren't boys.
Right. They were not boys.
They were in their 30s and had served in the Revolutionary War.
Right.
Deidre made a comment. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was just going to say there's a whole nother theory that's been passed on to me by a gentleman who's talking about the fact that McGinnis was actually given a map of Oak Island or that area up there by someone who was dying and gave him a map. And so he knew where to go look. That's why he went there in the first place. So I don't know. That's a really cool story. And we'll have to dig into that at some point too. But that
Deidre made a comment there about CCH being and First Nations representatives being backed up as well. They are. I actually have a friend that works for CCH, and they said they are backed up really bad.
Oh wow. Yep. Who
So
said that?
Deidre.
No, I was just watching to say Sir Walter Raleigh introduced tobacco in 1500s in North America.
That would be a Jake Roberts comment.
That would probably be a Jake Roberts comment.
That sounds like Jake.
I don't know if it was or not. I'm trying to see who that was. That was Cat Fulton.
Oh, was that Cat Fulton? Oh, wow.
Oh, wait, no, it wasn't. No, wait, I'm sorry. That was not him. That was not Cat. Oh, that was Sharon. Sharon Irving Thompson comment. Said that. Yeah. That's why we need your name on there so we can see who says that. I don't have to go search for it. Hey, James McQuiston's here too.
Hey, James.
He said this here. French explorer Denys wrote a book, wrote in the early 1600s that the Mi'kmaq came down the river from New Ross with beaver pelts to trade in Mahone Bay. And he would know. He's done a lot of research on that. Thank you, James. Appreciate you. All right, we got to move along here. We're at an hour and a half already. We haven't even finished the show yet. All right, so I love this map right here. This is cool. I mean, it was hard to see. It was so everything was so white, but this is the one they were looking at. This was kind of a neat map. And I'm going to have to do some studying on this later with Henry. Henry loves these old maps. I don't know how old this particular one here is. Probably not that old, quite honestly, but it's still a neat map nonetheless. But they were using this map when they were talking about doing the survey, going around the island and looking for anomalies in the water. Now, some people, they were going out with a magnetometer and they were going to do some looking around all the way around the island. They talked about all of it. That's something that Rick Lagina was very adamant about. They want to go around the whole island area and look, not just up here where he's pointing in that area. They're pointing. That's where I think that's Tony is pointing out where they found some of the anomalies when they did some scanning last year, and him and Alex dove on that area. So that's where they said he was pointing some anomalies there. So that's where they were going to look as well. And then they talked about Frog Island. And this is where, so the guys kind of put together this whole idea of where they're going to go out and look. And then they talked about Frog Island. Tony suggests that they can also scan the area where him and Alex dove last year. That's over there. And Frog Island, where there is a shoal that is about 1,000 feet east of Oak Island. Frog Island is a 54-acre island where previous searchers have found European artifacts. Yes, that suggested that an encampment had predated the Money Pit. In 1994, Dan Blanken formed the Mahone Bay Exploration Company and to explore Frog Island and Apple Island, which is a little one. I think I don't know if it's this one. Colin, do you know, Jeff? I don't know I don't think this one's Apple. I think Apple was, maybe it is Apple. This one, the small one, but they didn't have it named on the show here. But Apple was a really small little, very small little island, really, really small. But no artifacts or valuable artifacts or clues were found by Dan Blankenship's team. So they went out to get a look at these things and do some scanning out here. Now, one thing I like about Frog Island, now you see there's like two pieces to it. It does have like a swamp area, I guess, or a low area cutting off part of it. Making it like two separate pieces. Oh, that's Apple. Dave Petrella says that is Apple. Okay.
That is Apple. I just found it on the map.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yep.
So that little one right there, that is Apple. Okay.
Yep, that's Apple.
Yeah, Colin would know that because he was goes around here all the time. So this right here, this was a picture I snapped from last year when they were doing the diving with Alex. And they did get some hits down there. But then they weren't allowed to, and that's the other frustrating thing, isn't it? When they find these hits and then they can't go down and dig them up. That's got to be terribly frustrating. Oh, you got a hit, but you're not allowed to, see what it is. You got to get permits. Very frustrating for sure. There's a shot of Frog Island right there. So they get out there in the boat. There's Apple. That's the little one. It's how small that is. I mean, it's an acre, maybe not even an acre. But the water has to be relatively shallow in here. But they did show that shoal. There shows an old schooner going through or an old boat going through. So they could pass through there. That looks like the Smith's Cove. And that's Frog Island in the background. That's pretty cool to see that. So a pretty good sized ship can come through there. This is the magnetometer that they put in the water, and they're pulling it around with the boat. And this kind of showed you artist rendition of exactly what they are doing, what it's doing. It's scanning the seabed and looking for metal anomalies. This is, if you guys watch the show, the Beyond Oak Island episode of the riverboats in Kansas, in the Missouri River, in Kansas area, they used the same type of technology when they were scanning, looking for the boiler of the boat, of the riverboat. That would be your big hit. That boiler would be their major hit, and that's what they were looking for out there in the river. So this is the same thing. It's looking for metal anomalies. Excuse me. Looking for metal anomalies in the water. Salty Dog Sea Tours. Yeah, Salty Dog. I love my hat. Tony Sampson. So Tony getting out there with the Salty Dog Sea Tours, taking everybody around and pulling the boat around, getting those anomalies. There's another shot there, and that's as they're going around by Frog Island. Now, this was what they saw on the scans. So they see a spike like this. That means they just came across a metal anomaly, and that magnetometer hit on it. This is called a Sea Spy marine magnetometer that they were using to scan for clues of old shipwrecks and wharfs around the island. Device sends out a low power radio frequency energy waves that detect ferrous objects as much as 30 feet below the surface. The targets will appear as spikes, as you see right here, that Colin can then watch in real time and get a better look at later on as they do some put all the scans together. The software puts it together. We'll see that here in just a few moments. Tom Burns said the magnetometer is scanning for iron. So they had that hit there. They actually had a couple that were spikes like this that we saw. Obviously, they had a lot more when we see the map that they were looking at. This is one of the things I want. This is the shoal they were talking about. This is Frog Island. Frog Island right here. And of course, artist rendition of this picture. But you see what happens here. You got a deeper area here, and then you've got like what would probably have been a sandbar at some point. Now it's covered with a little bit of water, but this is a perfect shipwreck thing right here. The ships would come along and they would be in this deeper water and not see this and run aground on it. And now they're stuck. And that's the end of that. If they can't get it off in high tide, they're done for. And that's why when they were doing the scanning, they were finding this, they got this huge hit right here. And they were all very, very excited about this hit that took place. So this one here really jumped out at him because and Tony, you could see the look on Tony's face. He could not wait to get in there and have a look at this. And we'll hopefully see that coming up in the next episode or two when they're diving on these spots and see what it is that's down there. Really cool that to see that for sure. Then they had another map. They went back and they gathered up in the war room. There's the guys, and they got the software all together, and they're having a look at what they found. Here's all the hits that they found around the island. There's a lot of them.
Wow.
A lot of shipwrecks down there.
A lot of something down there, a lot of metal down there. Now, some of them could be reminiscent of pieces from a wharf like they were talking about. We know for sure because it was found that we know that there was a wharf that came off these 2 points right here off the Samuel Ball properties down here. We speculate that there was a wharf that was coming off of down in this area.
Yep.
They had found this one last year when they were scanning last time. And I think this is one of the areas that Tony had a hit. But two of them that really caught their eye, and it could be a wharf. This one here could be part of an old wharf that was extending out from Oak Island. But the one that really got them was this group right here. That was their big hit. And that's over, that shoal is right in here. That's right over in that area where that shoal is.
Hmm.
And they had a better look at it. That's the one that's off of lot 4, I think 3 or 4. That's right in that area. That was one that they saw right there. That was really cool. Did John mention German U-boat wrecks there too? Did you?
There were German U-boats, but they were in the Nova Scotia area. I don't think I've ever said there was a German U-boat off Oak Island, but there were German U-boats, off the east coast of the United States and in the Nova Scotia
Yeah,
There
was.
area.
It was a Templar U-boat.
Oh, there you go.
Spear of Destiny, Dale.
Now, this was one area that was really big for him. This is the one that had that huge spike. And it's right where that shoal is too. So that's the one that got him really, really excited that they want to get down there and dive on this thing. I tell you, that the whole thing with Frog Island in this area right here. Let's see. Let me back up just for a second before I say that. So lot 6, 4, 5, and 6 on the north side of the island the team soon gets hits off the shore of lot 6, once belonged to Samuel Ball. That was this one right here, I believe. Right in that area. So they're thinking it might have had something to do with a wharf or something. The group moves to Frog Island where they were scanning Frog Island Shoal, and because the shoals are often a cause of shipwrecks, the team hoped to find targets there, and that's where they got that really big hit right here. And they got several, but there's again, Tony can't wait to get down there and have a look. They gathered up and they were talking about all this stuff, looking at these scans. There's a group of cluster of targets within a 50 meter of the shoreline, the northern shoreline, and then Frog Island Shoal here. M4 was one of the really important ones. That was the big one. That was this one right here. Was the large target. It was a lot of ferrous metal in it. And it is agreed that Tony will dive on these targets and try to get the team more clues as to who now. Now, somebody, some people are saying, what in the world are they doing over there? Why are they bothering? They're bothering because it helps with the timeline. If they can determine who was over here and what they were doing, then they can get a look at, then it helps to build the picture of who was there. So if they can look at these ships and then make any kind of a determination of who, if let's say it's a cannon or something like that down there. Cannons have identifiable marks. And as we've seen on the Beyond Oak Island show last night, or last week, I'm sorry, you'll see that there's some significant things that they can find out about a cannon. They can maybe help determine who it belonged to. Was it French? Was it English? Was it, and help try to get some sort of a date on it. That may help tell you who was in the area at the time. We know the French were there. We know the British were there.
Yep.
Because they went back.
Just chime in one thing about the cannons.
Yeah.
An interesting thing how they, and I've learned this from a long time ago, when you look at a cannon, it's not just the design that will give you what type of era that you're considering. Mm-hmm. Normally, if you look at a cannon, when it's found, like when it's at a foundry, is that they cast right where your vent hole is, where you put your priming composition in there. Normally, just ahead of that, they have a casting that is of the reigning monarch at the time that the cannon was casted. So if you go to, say, York Redoubt, or which is in Halifax, like off the Northwest Arm, they have a series of cannon out there that have absolutely beautiful markings that were quite clear. The ones in the Citadel Fortress are very well preserved, and you can clearly see those. So you'll see ones from like King George III, King George II, things like that. So that's, if they can uncover those and they can get the barnacles off them, they'll trace it down according to that.
That's awesome. That's truly, see, and that's exactly what they need to do. So again, was this important? It could be, because it could help them determine who was in the area other than the French or the English. Who else might have been there? If they can nail that down, man, I think it'd be pretty significant personally. So yeah, they really have to do that. They really have to look at these things. And it's about time that they got around to it. I know there was another scanning. There was another boat, a pull, something that was being pulled. I think the college had something to do with it. they were pulling another. It was looked like a boat, a small black boat. I can't even remember. It was like before the season got started. We were seeing pictures of it, and it was being pulled around, and they were doing something with that. And I think the college had a program that they were doing that had that. I'm really curious what they came up with. Did they find some of these same hits, or was it a magnetometer? It might not have been a magnetometer. It might have been a side scan sonar or something like that.
Yep.
So it'd be really interesting to see what he finds. Can you pull up a shot of Zena's map on it? Frog Island note dock here near the show. Could you? Who said that?
Cat.
Cat.
She signed it.
They should do an entire season of stuff they don't show you.
Oh, I know. They could.
Everything.
Or
Cat, you read my mind. What did I have next for a picture? Well, I'm about to show you what I had next for a picture because I really wanted to talk about this a little bit. And the next picture I had was just that, Zena's map. Now, a couple of things I wanted to point out, and again, I'm going off of my own personal opinions here. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jump in and tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about if you feel like it. But if you're going to have a picture of a map and it's going to be telling you where something is, a treasure or something like that, or particular spots, would you? Now, it makes sense. You probably would include a couple of other islands. There are nearby islands on it, and this right here would be Frog Island, and this right here would be Apple, probably, right? This
that would be Apple.
Little circle right here, little Apple Island and Frog Island, and you see that separation that I mentioned when I was looking at that artist picture, the digital picture they done of Apple or Frog Island had that little thing going through right here. Something that I've said a couple of times, and I've kind of thrown this out to John a little bit, is you see how they got these little squiggly lines. I've said this before, but for those of you who haven't heard it, bear with me. Those of you who have heard me talk about this, bear with me for a moment. You have all these little things I'm talking about, the hatch and all these stuff, and they're all pointing. They got this line in a squiggly pointing to a particular place on Oak Island, right? Line, squiggly, pointing, squiggly, all these they got the little Z in it, right here. All these little things are pointing somewhere, right? They call this the 1347 map. And the reason they call it that is because of the words written right here, I believe, and I don't read French, I'm sorry, but I believe it says 13,437 or something like that is what this says right here, right? Is that right, John?
Yes, 1347.
So it's saying 13,000, I think 13,437 is what it says. So everybody calls this the 1347 map as if that were a date.
But it might not be.
I'm saying that's BS because it's not a date. It can't be a date. Why? First of all, why would you put a date on a line that's pointing to an island like all these other lines are pointing to something on an island? Why would you have a date pointing to somewhere on an island? Wouldn't you put the date up at the top corner of the map or down in the bottom corner of the map or across the middle or something? Why would you have it on a line that's pointing to something?
But 1347 was the first year of the Black Plague. So you have the plague roaming around. 2 out of 3 are dying in Europe, and it was for 5 years. So why would you send something to supplies alone? You couldn't get anything to Oak Island at this point from Europe. So the 1347 being the at the height of the Black Plague, that first year where people were dying like crazy, that date doesn't make sense. But what makes sense is a possible coding. And so I have forwarded the information to Jake Roberts, our coding specialist, and he's been on the show, and he's just dynamite at what he does.
Yep.
And I'm having him look into this because to me, it just is commensurate with coding, and coding maybe around or what's being used during the age of exploration is what I'm going to suggest. Now, I may know a little more, but at this point, I'm not at liberty to talk about it. But Jake is looking into this, Jake Roberts.
Yep. And we are waiting for that to come out. Somebody said that this is not Apple, so you might be right. I don't. Just because it's there. Oh, Tracy Benjamin said that's not Apple Island. Yeah. This one here. Okay, I don't know. But it's pointing again. You got something. Somebody wrote that out. Said, I can't. It's this word right here, and it says, "Did you go here?" Question mark. Is that what that says? Did you go here? That's what the Barbara Duncan wrote that on there. Right here. Yeah. Did you go here? Is that what that says? I don't read French, but anyway, that's pretty interesting. So again, again, maybe I'm all wet with that, but I mean, that's not a date in my mind. That is not a date. Barbara, what does this say right above it? The something? I don't know what that says, but if you could translate that for me, or somebody could. But anyway, this 1347 is not a date.
It's not a
pointing
date.
to something. And if it's code, it says "do not go here."
Is that what it says?
It says, so it says this one says "do not go here," or yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. How could that possibly be a date? If you're going to do a date, you wouldn't write it out. You wouldn't write it out,
Not like
phonetically.
that.
You do it numerically.
Exactly. That's part of my point. Is that it's pointing to a particular place on Frog Island that's right at that gap between the two pieces of the island. And again, I would need to. I don't know if it's like that anymore because of the sea levels have risen or whatever, or gone. Yeah, risen.
And we have a translation in the chat, Jeff, if you could read it.
Yeah. Let me, I hate doing this to you, Jeff. It's going to cover your face up for a minute. I apologize. But
that's okay.
the place to land. Oh, it says the place to land or access land. That's what that means. Okay. It says the place to land or access land. That's what this means right here. Thank you.
Well, that kind of makes sense. Because if we look at the cluster of ships between Frog Island and Oak Island, right? That big cluster of ships.
Yeah.
Can you circle that where it would be on Zena's map? Take your cursor.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me get this off of Jeff's face. There.
Okay.
You're talking about these right here?
Nope. The cluster of ships should be between Frog Island and Oak Island somewhere. The cluster
right
ships.
Here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right about in
so
here.
let's say there's a shoal or jagged rocks or something that kept sinking ships.
Yep.
You would take smaller ships from maybe Frog Island to Oak Island, which
Right.
we know that Tom Burns has pointed out that the smaller ships were going into the swamp area.
Right.
And
that's what you'd pull up on your slipway.
Correct. And that's what you pull up on your slipway,
Right.
and you would dock the bigger ships, your galleons and your bigger ships off Frog Island, because maybe you're talking 10 feet lower, and so you're talking that it could be very dangerous, and so now you have a cluster of ships. A cluster of ships all going down in the same area means there's an anomaly. There's something causing those ships to all go down in that area.
Right.
Whether it's either going to be a battle or it's going to be something that's natural that, opens up the hull of the ship.
Yep.
A shoal opens up the hull of the ship, and every one of them just met their fate in that same area. So in either case, you would want to dock, boats a little further out and take the smaller ships in. I don't think it was a battle of some kind. I don't think it was military.
I don't think so either.
I'm going to say it's going to be a shoal of some type that kept ripping into ships, because if you're 10 feet lower and tide, you're going to be much more exposed to the rocks and the other things in that area.
Right.
When you have a vessel go into an unknown area, for people that are out there that are in the know about this kind of thing, wouldn't they normally take smaller dory boats or smaller boats out
Correct.
ahead of the main ship, and they would have like a staff where they would measure the depth of the water,
Two soundings,
so that they know that the ship wouldn't run aground?
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Makes sense, especially when you're getting into uncharted waters like that and you don't know what's there. You're probably you're definitely going to do that. And at least it makes sense that you would do that. Yes.
And if I remember correctly, did not find pieces of a dory that Tom pulled up that were in the swamp area, like the smaller ships?
Yeah. Well, those pieces I think were. Yeah. Tom was showing us pictures of that. And Henry, and they look like pieces from a dory. Yeah.
So that makes perfect sense. That maybe that was a landing point. Now the 1347, I still think it's code, very much so. But that would be a code for an organization or maybe a person. But Frog Island becomes a staging area to go further into like Oak Island. And then the question is, what's so interesting on Oak Island that you would have larger ships and then taking dories into Oak Island,
right?
With a slipway and a road and other things and the artifacts they pulled out of Oak Island. So it's just kind of curious.
It is. It's very curious. And somebody else just popped up and said that this right here, Patrice put this up and said Apple Island. If that's Apple, I don't know. Again, I don't know if that's Apple. I'm just guessing, but it says you go there with the ship, and it's pointing right at it. So I don't know. What is that? Is it does the tunnel start there and then go underground all the way or underwater over? I'm just.
You know what
I sent you a pic, Jeff. An interesting pic.
I did. I just grabbed that. But anyway, before I leave this map, that means something to me, and I think Jake Roberts. We get to the bottom of what this means. We're gonna have to, it's pointing at something on that island. It is. All right, I'm going to show this picture here that this is what Dale just sent. This is Frog Island, and that is that little piece. Right, that's that little area right there. That's this piece right here of the two islands. There is a house out there. Somebody's got a house out there.
That's my summer home.
Oh, is it?
Wow.
Oh, okay. Hey,
Right
we gotta
there.
check that out when I'm there then.
No,
But
I noticed it's kind of neat. There's a second swamp on that island.
Yeah.
Looks like.
I know. Yeah, right here. There's a swamp. Yeah, I think, and there's several of them that Colin has told us that there's several of them that have a swamp like that. They're very similar to the shape and the composition of Oak Island.
Yeah,
like that. So very cool. Oh man, I tell you, it gets really. What did Jake say here? It would be. What did I miss it? Oh, here. It would be one of the oldest documents of European origin. Dates aren't always actual dates. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Jake's trying to tell us something there. I don't know what he's trying to tell us yet.
He's trying to tell us something there.
He's trying to tell us something.
Yeah, this is really cool. That's a really cool picture. Thanks for sharing that with us.
So I'm kind of curious, Jeff. You can scan the bottom of obviously the ocean floor, right, in this area.
Yep.
So I would love to see like an actual graphic of what the area looked like with the tides 10 feet lower, and you should be able to show that with the scans. What was what shoals were protruding, what wasn't, and you can get a generalized idea.
Yeah.
I know things shift. You can get a generalized idea of what it would look like 8 to 10 feet lower. I mean, Oak Island would be a bigger place, and Oak Island may, at this point, be connected to the mainland.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what we kind of talked about. You could have walked over. It would have been a peninsula rather than an island. Yeah. Yep. So you could walk out onto Oak Island. It would just been a peninsula sticking off from the mainland at some point.
Or maybe it was a low tide situation when you could walk out on low tide, and then the tides come in, and
Yep.
Because it's not that deep. That when you go down the causeway, that road going to Oak Island, either side is not that deep.
Yeah,
so maybe 3 or 4 feet at most. I mean, it drops off, but
there's got to be some coding in there. I think there's some coding in it. We need to find out.
Yep, I think Jake Roberts is the man that will decode.
Yeah,
this.
Jake is going to have to get down to Jake, you got to get down to the bottom of this for us.
Yep.
And Tony, we've been trying to get Tony on the show because we got.
Absolutely.
I tell you what, Tony is such a busy man, and plus he's getting ready to start his Salty Dog sea tours. He's getting ready to start the sea tours. They're going to fire up here pretty soon. So yeah, he's diving. He's probably gonna have his own show at some point. He's going to be the Jacques Crusoe going into the 2000. Going into 2022, 2023, I think he's going to be Jacques Rousseau out there for us. But he's doing a lot of fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we got to get you on the show, Tony, because we got to talk about some of these things. And I know we can't talk about them until they've aired. So toward the end of the season, man, you got to carve us out an hour, just an hour. Give me an hour so we can talk to you a little bit about some of the things that you found, because the diving that we're going to probably see of you doing next week is going to be very significant. I think.
Absolutely.
Really looking forward to seeing what you come up with, for sure. So, boy, I tell you, in all these things, they do tell a story, folks, and that's the beauty of it. Is that we need to find out exactly what all the pieces. You put all these pieces together in a puzzle, and they do tell a story, and that's what we're trying to get to. That's what Rick is very adamant about, is getting the pieces to the story and putting them together. We think there is that was 19. We think there's 25 altogether. So that would leave us six episodes remaining. Is what it's our best guess based upon what we've heard. 6 episodes remaining till the end of the season. It'll probably wrap up first Tuesday in May, I think, something like that, if you add them all up. So yeah, we got a little bit more to go, and there's going to be a cliffhanger, I'm sure, at the end. Because everybody had big smiles at the end of the year. They really did. And so, would they have such big smiles if they didn't find anything at all? So I really believe they did. We'll see. How do you translate the word le basin? I don't know. Where did I saw that too on here too? And I don't remember where I saw that. But anyway, that's not a date. I'm standing by that 100%. It's not a date. It's coded. It means something.
Has to.
I wanted to show one other picture too. This was something that, remember when Jack Begley and Charles were walking out to get on to the Tony's boat. Did you notice this?
Mason signal.
Are you kidding me?
I don't know if I should be. Huh?
You didn't notice that?
Oh, I saw it. I noticed it.
I noticed it right away.
Noticed it as soon as he was walking over there. Boom! There went that hand, and I was like, I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't be showing that stuff on the show or whatever, but I saw it. I had to put up a clip of it real quick. I just thought that was
cool. Jan makes a great point. Charles, the Tony, they're both Masons. That makes sense.
Yeah, they are.
Yep,
they are. So there you go. And so is the premiere. What did you say? Oh, I don't know if he is. But that's just really cool. I think that one Mason to another. Exactly. I don't know. Anyway.
Yep.
Well, what do you think, guys? Are we gonna have a big find yet this year in the Money Pit? I sure hope
6 episodes.
Got 6 episodes to find out what they're gonna find in the Money Pit, and then we're gonna get some stuff. We're gonna find out what Tony's diving out there next week. I think I'm really curious to see what Tony comes up with, especially on that one anomaly. This one, right? The one right here, M4, and these right here. I'm really curious to see what what Tony finds there. This is going to be fun. So, going to be a good one, I think. So, but yeah, they got to find something, I think, in the Money Pit. What do you think? Closing thoughts, guys?
Someone said they were giving gang signs.
Gang signs.
Oh, well,
they're in the M gang.
Yeah,
I probably shouldn't show that stuff. I'm sorry if it's overstepped.
Jeff, you still have the Chamber of Secrets, the chamber that we're introduced to at the beginning of the season, and there's been nothing done with it as far as I know. So that still has to be resolved in my mind. So I think that's to come.
Yeah, I think so too. Wow, I don't know. Well, we had plenty to talk about tonight. Yeah, got to keep the faith. I really do believe that we have to get to the answers, and that's of course what Rick Lagina always talks about, is getting to the answers of the who, what, why, when, and where on Oak Island and the surrounding area. I want these answers. I think that's more of the treasure that we will find rather than the actual treasure itself. I still think they're going to find some evidence of treasure. What that's going to be, we don't know yet, but I think they will. But I want to know who, what, why, when, and where. That's what's important to me. Somebody said, I don't think they'll find it in the pit. Maybe not. Is it possibly under the eye of the swamp and it's plugged with blue clay? I still want to believe. I know Jack and I still believe that there's a lot of answers in that swamp, and we need to get to them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Guys, thank you very much for being on the show with me here tonight. Jeff Babineau, again, from Anchor Tours, thank you for coming on tonight.
Thanks, Jeff. It's been a blast.
Yeah, I didn't give you a whole lot of chance to talk. I'm sorry about that, because
This is great.
talk too much, but appreciate it. And look forward for the links for Dale's. We got the link in there. We'll put the link on here also for the Anchor Tours in the bottom in the description of the show. And also we got the fundraiser. When's the fundraiser start again?
It started already, and
Okay.
it's going until June 1st. So,
and where are you at already on it?
$430.
Wow.
Wow.
Cool. We're getting there already. You get a chance to win that. Every $5 gets you an entry for the hat, right?
And there's Dan's signature right there.
And Blankenship's signature on it. So
Wow.
yeah, great stuff. We're really looking forward. I'd like to win it. I missed out on
maybe
both the
Vanessa
hats.
wore it.
Huh?
Maybe this is Vanessa's hat. I don't know.
Maybe. Maybe. I don't know. Good stuff. But anyway, and we got the link out there also for to be able to donate for the charity. So we got that link out there as well for that. So, but again, thanks guys. Thanks John for being here again. Good insights as always. And folks, tomorrow night, don't forget, tomorrow night we're going to be recapping the Beyond Oak Island episode, Peter Easton's Plunder. And we've got 2 special guests that were on the show. I love it. Jan went out and gathered up these folks, asked them if they would come on and help us to get more information about the show that they were on. So it's Peter Easton's Plunder. We got Bill Smith and Scarlett. And I'm going to try it's Janusas. I know I'm going to botch saying your last name, Scarlett. I'm so sorry. I'll find out for sure tomorrow. But we got Scarlett and Bill will be on with us, and they were on the show last week, and so they're going to help us to tell us all about Peter Easton and what they were looking for out there. So it's going to be awesome. I can't wait. 7:30 tomorrow night. Tom Burns and I with Bill and Scarlett, and we're going to have some fun with them. Johansson. All right. Jan says Johansson. Thank you. But that's going to be fun. I can't wait to talk to both of them and get some information from them. We're going to have a great time. So, and we'll see you back here, that show tomorrow night. And then next week for the next episode, which I think is called The Hidden Truth. The Hidden Truth. Yeah. So we'll see what that's all about. Good night, guys. Have a great week. Rest of your week. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Take care.
Bye.
Thank you.